Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for the running late but sounding great edition that is this sprint race reaction. We're only about 16 hours late, but we're finally going to talk about this sprint race. And you know what? It was a good one. Last year's sprint race at this track was one of the worst things I've ever seen. But this was actually good. Unbelievable stuff. We'll talk about all that and more in a bit. Make sure you like and subscribe. And a huge shout out to our members, Dakota, the Joyous James, Robin Myers and Cinnamon Strudel. There you go. So, let's talk about the sprint, because it was Max Verstappen on pole position with George Russell alongside him. Everyone on the medium tyres. And it was a good start for Max Verstappen, who kept the lead, but an incredible start for Lando Norris, a guy who, has been questioned on his starts multiple times throughout this season, had the whole thing for a while of he's on pole, but he can't keep the lead into lap one, which he broke in Singapore. But here, fantastic, from second to fourth place in a matter of about 3 or 4 corners for Lando Norris at the start of this race. Now, Leclerc further back tries to go down the inside of George Russell for P3, but they go side by side for about the next 4 corners, Russell able to keep that position. And this leads to the Ferraris battling, and this was a huge part of basically the entire race. The 2 Ferraris fighting it out, starting on lap 2. This is the battle for P4. Now that we see fantastic back-to-back cutbacks from Leclerc here, though, as Sainz takes the place, but goes a little bit deep. Leclerc is able to brake a little bit early, cut back, and take the position back. We saw that happen twice in about the space of 4 or 5 corners from Leclerc there. Fantastic stuff from him. This one we hear his radio message say, "We have to try and come back at the others," which is code here, and only the most intelligent can decipher the code. It actually means, "Please tell Carlos to stop fighting me all the time." Meanwhile, further back, Sergio Perez has a huge lockup and nearly takes out Yuki Tsunoda. It was very close between the two of them there, but they both come away unscathed. Sainz finally passes Leclerc on P4 on lap 5, and now he sends a message to the team that says, "Let's go get them now," which again, only the most intelligent viewer can decipher this code, which means, now that I'm in front, please say that we don't have to fight anymore so that we can go get the others and I can get more points. At no point during this race, I think Ferrari ever mentions team orders. They fully let the 2 guys fight it out. I mean, you could see it from the point of view of that was possibly detrimental to the team as a whole, but as a viewer, I love to see it. And the 2 guys kept it clean, had some really good racing. It was great stuff all around. Meanwhile, further up the grid, George Russell is attacking Lando Norris for P2. Some great defensive driving from Lando here. This is at the time when McLaren tell Lando that Max is potentially damaging his rear tyres more than Lando was. But at this point in time, now obviously that radio message we hear on a delay, but even if it was within the same lap, at that point in time, Lando's battle really wasn't with Max. It was with Russell at that point. As we go further into the race, the battle would come more towards Max and Lando again, but at that point in time, his main opponent was George Russell. And as we would discover as the race would go on, really, that what he was told, I know it's a forecast, but it was not true. The Red Bull looked after its tyres a hell of a lot better than Lando Norris's McLaren did. Meanwhile, Alonso is not a happy bunny at all with Liam Lawson. Some very defensive driving from Liam Lawson is seen here, which not only means that Alonso doesn't get past him, but also means that Alonso loses a position to Esteban Ocon, as my computer is freaking out. It's not happy about this, and Fernando Alonso was not happy about this either. Personally, I don't see the issue. I like a bit of defensive driving. He left the space there. He didn't push him off the track. I don't think he was moving too aggressively in the braking. I think realistically it was okay. It wasn't even investigated by the stewards, so it couldn't have been that bad. So, there you go. I think he was okay. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri forces Pierre Gasly off the track, which will come back to haunt him. Back to the front, though, George Russell was fighting with Lando Norris. He's not anymore. He has properly fallen back and back into the trail of the Ferraris, who are still fighting out. But on lap 9, Sainz is able to get past Russell, and lap 10, in the exact same position, Leclerc is able to get past Russell. Russell going from 3rd to 5th in the matter of just 2 laps. This is when Oscar Piastri gets a 5-second penalty for forcing Gasly off the track. And then we get a wonderful battle here between Perez and Yuki Tsunoda. Perez gets the place, but you know what? This is some fantastic driving from Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki, I feel, was very underrated in this race. Didn't get points in the end, but the driving that he did, I thought, was absolutely fantastic, especially here, fighting against Perez. Perez obviously in a much faster car, but the move that Yuki did down the inside at one point, absolutely incredible. And, if rumours are to be believed that Yuki and Lawson have been told it's one of you two in the Red Bull next year, if this is Yuki's audition to get in that Red Bull, it was fantastic from him. Because once Perez had gone down the road a little bit, then Piastri was on the back of Yuki Tsunoda, and now Piastri, very, very aggressive moves on Yuki, but Yuki able to keep the place again and again and again. Really fantastic stuff. I can't praise Yuki enough in this race. Piastri eventually does get past him on lap 16, which is to be expected, because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the McLaren is faster than the Racing Bill. But yeah, once again, great stuff from Yuki. At this point, though, the Ferraris had caught Lando Norris. It's on lap 18. And as we go on to the final lap, Lando Norris has a huge lockup into turn 1 to what is a huge reaction from the crowd. I mean, oh my God, it's very rare that you hear a massive reaction like that from the crowd. You'll hear it like, when Lewis Hamilton does something good at Silverstone, you'd hear it there. Or maybe Max Verstappen in Austria or the Netherlands or something like that. But it's very rare you hear a reaction like that from the crowd. But Lando Norris locking up, the crowd went mental as Carlos Sainz went through and up into P2. And now Leclerc all over the back of Lando Norris. Lando locks up again. Leclerc does go for a move, but the move gets blocked. Now this was under investigation for a while. Again, I saw no issue there. It was a defensive move for sure, but defensive moves are allowed. He didn't hit him, didn't push him off, wasn't breakingly over-aggressive in the braking zone. I thought it was completely fine. Lando Norris able to stay ahead of Charles Leclerc from there. But as we cross the line, it's been a while since I've said this, but Max Verstappen wins. He wins the sprint race here in Austin. Carlos Sainz takes a great P2. Lando Norris, I feel, might be a little bit disappointed with only P3. Charles Leclerc in 4th. George Russell 5th. Lewis Hamilton in 6th. Lewis would catch Russell towards the end of the race, but just ran out of laps from there. Then it was a fantastic double points finish for Kevin Magnussen in 7th and Nico Hülkenberg in P8. And as I said, Yuki Tsunoda deserves a shout out. He finishes in 11th place, but nonetheless, a very, very good performance from him. And what this means in general for the championship, I mean, we have got the actual race later today where a hell of a lot more points are available. But, we were speaking in the preview about how Lando had cut down Max's title gap by 1 point since Miami. After this race, the points that were handed out in this race, the gap between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen has now grown by 1 point. So I think after Miami, there was a 53-point difference, and now it's 54. And now it seems like Red Bull have a better understanding of what their car is again. They seem to be back on track, at least in terms of Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez still struggling, of course, but Max seems to have a better understanding of what the car is, and it seems to be working a hell of a lot better for him. Like I said in the qualifying review yesterday, it's been a while since we've had an onboard of Max Verstappen where he's just turning the steering wheel and the car is going in the direction that he wants. So we have had this time now where Red Bull have been massively struggling and McLaren have been the faster car. And in that time, the points difference between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris has grown by 1 point to Max Verstappen. I said it on Friday, there is no title battle. And I think this is confirmed it for me. We would need something monumental to happen to Max Verstappen in the next few races in terms of engine failures or crashes or whatever it might be. But as I sit here right now, I think you can basically give the title to Max as it is. But of course, we will wait and see how it goes from here. And there is a race on later today, which I will be here to discuss with you. And I hope it will be a fun one, because you know what? It's looking like it will be a fun one. Of course, Lando Norris is on pole position, Max Verstappen alongside him. The Ferraris have got pace for sure. We'll see what happens there. Lewis Hamilton, not one to keep an eye on in terms of a win or potentially even a podium, but I think he's going to be starting from the pit lane. It could be interesting to see how he goes from there. But overall, should be a very fun race in Austin, Texas. So I'll see you for that one later on. Let me know what you thought of this sprint. And until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.